that creating more bureaucratic entities really solves the problem. There are 86 school districts right now in the county of Los Angeles. There's some school districts that are as small as 5,000 students. I have a friend who sits on one of those school boards in San Gabriel Valley. Let me tell you that she has the same types of systemic problems with that school district as the members of the Board of Education for LAUSD. It's not the size of the district, it's the makeup. What I would do is have small neighborhood schools, whether you call them charter schools or learn schools or whatever. Power based in the school, in the community, with the teachers, with the parents and the community that they serve. Give them the money, let them have control over their budget, and use the school district, whatever size it is, as a mechanism to acquire pencils and paper and economies of scale to deliver services. And I think that works.
Okay, Kelley, let's go to another subject, okay? And call it welfare. I don't know if it's reform or not, but there'll be block grants coming to the state, and the state has to deal with these issues of welfare. You're in the Assembly. How do you deal with it?
Well, the view of the party and my view about welfare is, for one thing, welfare was always a completely local issue. It was the counties that handled welfare, and the participation of the federal government is simply unconstitutional. The federal government has no authority to have anything to do with welfare, and of course the money that is spent or block granted or whatever it is, that comes out of our taxes and gets run through the sieve in Washington to pay all these people to sit at these departments in Washington, and then some of it gets given back. Well, that whole process should simply be abolished. They should cut the federal taxes that take the money in the first place, and then just have the money at the local level, and each local community, each county, it shouldn't even be a state concern as far as I'm concerned, each county should decide what they want to do, how much they want to spend, and no one higher up is going to be telling them, oh, you have to do this or you have to do that.
And saying that, they're right now saying 2 years on welfare, then you must get a job, or 5 years total over life experience. How do you feel that's going to go?
Well, either way sounds fine to me, but I don't think it's a state responsibility. I think in each area, the county should be deciding what kind of benefits they want to pay and for how long.
Okay, Bob, how do you feel about it?
Well, I tell you, I'm deeply concerned about it. Let me just tell you, my take on this, and this is not an issue of federal control versus state or local control. This is an issue about politicians not wanting to take responsibility. Because example after example, the federal government, when there are issues of one party in power versus the other, and they want to deal with that issue, they'll deal with it at the federal level. If it's an AIDS issue and healthcare policy, all of a sudden that's a federal issue and not a state issue. What's happening is they're block granting dollars because they have less money they want to cut back, and so they're giving it to us and passing the responsibility to the state legislature. And I'm deeply concerned because this is one of many examples. Healthcare, we're seeing the same thing. We're seeing the same thing in a number of other areas where the level of responsibility that we have at the state legislature is growing in dramatic proportions. The press doesn't pay much attention. People generally don't know what we do or who we are. You know, we represent seven city council districts in our area. It's a huge jurisdiction, you know, and it's very problematic. I'm spending a lot of time studying the issue now so that I'm ready to hit the ground running if I'm successful in this election.
How do you deal with it, David?
God, you know, it's such a complicated issue. I think that the 2- and 5-year plan isn't going to work. What we need to do is definitely put a plan of action in that will give these people jobs and trade dollars for work, per se. Get these people doing something either on a state level, whether it be picking up papers or whether it's babysitting. Trade their time for dollars and give them more money than what they're getting on welfare. You can't survive on $479 for a parent and a child and $180 worth of food stamps and survive without cheating. It's impossible, and especially in this city. And if we don't change it, then it's just it's going to get worse.
Well, let's just talk about jobs then, and let's talk about it on 2 levels. First, is there a responsibility for the state to create jobs when people are going off of welfare and some kind of a public project kind of work that needs to be done? And secondly, where does the state stand on overall job creation and creating a climate that would be effective for people? And start with you, David.
Yeah, it's everybody's responsibility to make sure everybody gets fed and have a job and a place to go. And if we can't do it at a state level, we should do it on a community level. If we can't do it on a community level, we should do it on a national level. But it needs to be done. And people are starving out there, and we need to work on it.
Okay, Kelley?
Well, My point of view is it's not the responsibility of the government except to get out of the way, because Los Angeles still has about 8% unemployment. That's something everybody should be talking about all the time, but then the solution usually is, oh, well, then we have to do something. And of course, to do something, you have to raise taxes and set up some kind of program, and all you have to do is get the hell out of the way, and that means lower taxes and decrease the amount of regulation, because if you want to start a business in LA County, you have to fill out a stack of forms about that high. And who really wants to go to the trouble of doing that? You know, the people who are creating a lot of the jobs are the street vendors and so forth, and they're hassled by the government. But then how do a lot of people get started with big businesses in American history? You know, the Gimbal's and the people who started Macy's and big companies like that in New York City, they started out with push carts and things like that, and we're out there hassling these people with push carts, and the taxes are incredibly high, and, you know, why wouldn't you want to leave the state to start a business someplace else?
Bob, again, this story is jobs, two-level jobs. Jobs for people if we're going to take them off of welfare, and then basically the climate and the economy to create jobs for everybody.
Yeah. No question, in my judgment, it's the responsibility of the state. Not in some moralistic sense, but because we're in this together. That just from a practical business sense, if people aren't trained and people aren't productive members of society, they're not, you know, there's a whole host of adverse consequences, and we have to look at this holistically. Let me give you an example of one of my initial proposals that I intend to introduce if I'm successful in this election. The state of California has what's called an employment training panel. There's a 0.5 cent sales tax on payroll that is imposed on all payroll taxes in the state of California. It generates about $125 million a year. Yep. That money, in my judgment, is not wisely spent. I intend to bring as much money as possible of those dollars to the San Fernando Valley on the one hand, and secondly, bring them to small businesses that really need it and that, in my judgment and the judgment of many other experts, are really the engine of the economy. And you're going to see me right from the get-go, both that and also a regional economic development bank for the San Fernando Valley that helps small businesses with dollars. Those are my initial two proposals, actually, in terms of legislation.
And we're going to go almost to the close. We're almost there, but real quickly, any comments about the immigration issue? Starting with you, Bob.
Well, it's a tough issue. Bottom line, I support identification cards. I think that we should have tough border policies, but I was a supporter. I mean, opposed 187, and I think that some of this immigration bashing is just inappropriate.
Okay, 10 seconds. Real quick.
Free immigration, open borders, let people come and go wherever they want anytime, not a dime in public benefits.
Okay, David, final comment on that.
Basically the same thing, open borders and no public benefits unless they're a citizen.
Okay, let's go to the close now, and we'll just start with you, Dave. Take a deep breath. Tell our people out there why they should vote for you on November the 5th.
The Natural Law Party believes in non-combative solutions. We believe in using everybody's best information and combining it to come with some solid solutions. I can't give you a reason why you should vote for me, except that if you vote for the same parties that you were voting for before, very little is going to get done. The Republican and Democratic parties are pretty much ingrained into their system, and it's not working. It hasn't worked since the Industrial Revolution. So if you're going to vote for a change, vote for a third party. Hopefully it'll be the Natural Law Party.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that, David. Kelley, final comments. Why we should vote for you on November the 5th.
Indeed. Well, I would say that if you agree that the welfare state has actually failed and that socialism, wherever it has been tried, has failed, that means that the alternative is obviously capitalism and the free market. And so if you believe that jobs are created by private capital, and if you believe that you have the right to do what you want with your own property and your own body, then you should vote Libertarian this time. Okay?
Okay, and Bob.
Thank you. Thank you very much. At the opener, I focused on community issues. I want to focus on legislative Sacramento issues for the close. If anybody who's watching this show, or if anyone here gets elected to this job, you are faced, at least historically this has been the case, you are faced with thousands and thousands of bills. I suspect that if anybody seriously took a look at all this stuff, you couldn't actually read it all. It's impossible. It's impossible for anybody who seeks to go to Sacramento and work in the legislature to sit down and to do a serious analysis, a thoughtful analysis of the public policy issues of the day. What I intend to do is to limit the number of bills that I introduce so that I can spend a lot of time here, but also focus on those issues, on economic development, on issues of education, on issues of public safety, and focus my energy in the district, limit the amount of bills I produce in Sacramento, introduce in Sacramento, and also limit, hopefully seek to change the culture so that people will limit the amount of legislation that's introduced in Sacramento so that we can have a more intelligent, thoughtful debate on the issues of the day, and hopefully lessen the number of codes that we have in our code books and make them a little bit more thoughtful.
You know, we have 27 measures on the ballot if you live in LA City to deal with, and we have a couple of minutes left, and I want to run real quickly through it with you, just a few of them, just to sense you out so we can figure it out ourselves. Proposition 214, 216 on HMO accountability. For or against these?
I haven't taken a position on those two.
Against more fumbling with healthcare.
David?
Undecided.
Proposition 209, CCRI.
Absolutely for it.
For it. How about you, David?
Against it.
How about you, Bob?
Strongly opposed.
Okay, we're showing some differences here. Proposition 215,
No
which is medicinal use of marijuana. For or against?
Absolutely for it.
Why?
It's your body, it's your business, and people are dying in pain because they're denied their own choice. I am pro-choice for reproduction, for your body, for your health care, and that means medical marijuana.
David?
For it. Alternative medicines are definitely a needed system in our life, and why should we, if we can't use it, how are we going to get better?
Bob?
Support.
Okay, we'll do just one last one, which is 207, 211. You see a lot on 211, which is frivolous lawsuits or consumer lawsuits. For or against?
Against.
Bob?
On 211, no. I haven't made a decision on 207.
211, yes. And I'm not sure about
207 is attorney's fees contract.
207.
Okay, all right, well, that's good enough.
Against 207.
Against 207. Okay, I appreciate three of you very much for your comments and insights into your election and to the political process. We appreciate very much. And now it's up to us out there, viewers, to make a difference with our lives. Get involved in the political process. Go vote on November 5th. Thanks for watching this show. God bless you, and bye-bye.